Okay, so for the next 3 weeks, we are going to be learning about traditional tales or fairy tales. Okay, so fairy tales are what? To understand what traditional means and the main features of traditional tales or fairy tales. Fairy tales are stories that have been told and told again and again and again and again for many years. Often they are passed down through generations. That means your mummy would have heard them as a little girl, and your grandparents, and your great-great-grandparents, and your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. So they would have all heard the story, and because of that, there are different versions. I showed Leo before in our story. There are many different types of traditional tales, and I showed Leo. I have 5 different books about Jack and the Beanstalk. 5! And that's just at school, so I wonder how many in the world. Okay, so can you name a story that is a traditional story? So do you know any? So we had Jack and the Beanstalk is what I'm going to be reading to you today, but do you know any other stories or fairy tales, traditional tales? Can you name any characters from them? So let's see. Traditional tales often start with once upon a time, a long, long time ago, in a land far, far away, in a faraway kingdom, one sunny day. Did you ever hear the story of, or early one morning? Keep thinking about a story that you've heard that may have started with once upon a time. Can you think of any stories that begin? I'll give you a hint. What about Sleeping Beauty? Is that a fairy tale? Often fairy tales have magic, like fairies. Fairies are magic, and giants and unicorns, and love. So there's usually a princess and a prince. Talking animals, like the 3 little pigs and the 3 billy goats gruff. Did you ever hear a pig talk? But in fairy tales, they do. Good versus bad. So the princess, usually there's a witch, like in Snow White, with a poison apple who wants to be more beautiful than Snow White. So she tries to poison her. And usually at the end there is a happy ending. Well, for the good, not really the bad. Usually the stories, a fairy tale, is set inside a magical place, somewhere we've never heard of before. Or a land far away. Or a cottage, or in the woods, or a forest, or a castle. Here are some names of some famous fairy tales or traditional tales. Jack and the Beanstalk, which I'm going to read to you in a moment. Cinderella. Do we know Cinderella, where she has to be home by 12 o'clock and she loses her glass slipper? Goldilocks and the 3 bears, with the talking mummy, daddy and baby bear, and she eats their porridge and breaks their chair. The Emperor's New Clothes. The Little Red Hen, where the hen makes bread and they all don't help, the lazy farm animals, and then they all say, I want to eat the bread, and she says, no. The Ugly Duckling. The Frog Prince. Hansel and Gretel, this is one of my favourites, where they find the house made of sweets in the forest, but inside the house lives a bad witch who wants to eat Hansel and Gretel. And it doesn't end well for the witch. Rapunzel, with her long golden hair that the witch climbs up. Little Red Riding Hood. Pinocchio, the story of a puppet who becomes a real boy, but first he has to prove that he can be a good boy. The 3 billy goats gruff, which we are going to cover next week. The 3 little pigs. Rumpelstiltskin. Sleeping Beauty, where she falls asleep for 100 years. Would you like to sleep for 100 years? Beauty and the Beast. Tale as old as time. I bet some of you have seen the movie. It's a very nice story as well, Beauty and the Beast. Let's play a game. Name the story. Try to guess with the clues and then by the picture. So let's see. Let's see. It's a story about a beautiful princess and her evil stepmother, the queen. Anyone know what story it is? Not yet? Let's see. She went to live with 7 dwarves. Anybody know? Let's see the next one. She was poisoned by an apple, but was woken by a kiss from a handsome prince. Does anyone know the answer yet? Oh, no. Does anyone know the answer? Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Do you know that story? It's a very nice story. Try the next one. It's a tale about 3 characters who were sent away to build their own house. The first 2 found out that their houses, built with straw and sticks, were blown down. I bet you know this story already. The wolf huffed and puffed and he blew the house down. Of course you know this story. That's right, it's the 3 little pigs. Next one. It's a tale about a lovely girl who has to spend her days scrubbing and cleaning the house. She has an evil stepmother and 2 ugly sisters and gets transformed by a fairy godmother. Anybody know this story yet? She scrubs and cleans the house. She has an evil stepmother and 2 ugly sisters who are not nice to her whatsoever. And a handsome prince finds her glass slipper at a ball and doesn't stop until he finds her. Does anyone know the story? Cinderella! Correct. Let's play another game. Can you name the characters from these traditional tales? Let's see. Name that character. It is an animal. Okay. He's got sharp teeth. Do you know any character, animal, from a story that has maybe big ears and big teeth, big eyes, and he likes to eat grandmas and little girls? Do you know who it is? It's the big bad wolf. Next one. She's a little girl with blonde golden hair. She likes to eat porridge. Oh, I think we know who this is. She sits in other people's chairs until she finds one that's just right. She even gets caught sleeping in the bare bed. Do you know who this is? Goldilocks. Well done. Okay, so traditional tales are fairy tales and they are filled with magic and joy. So there's Ariel, we have Thumbelina, I think this is the castle from Aladdin, the Thorn Castle from Sleeping Beauty, we have a sleeping lion and an ice castle. So now I'm going to read for you Jack and the Beanstalk. Let me just make this small. So let's find the story. There it is. So this is a traditional tale, and this is called Jack and the Beanstalk. Let's get the slideshow from beginning. So, the title of the story is Jack and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time, there was a boy called Jack. Jack lived in a cottage with his mother. They were very poor and the most valuable possession was a cow. One day, Jack's mother asked him to take the cow to the market to sell. They're very poor, that means they have no money, so they're going to sell the cow to get some money. On the way, Jack met a man who gave him beans instead of money for the cow. Can you use beans to buy things in the supermarket? Do you use money or do you use beans? Do you think Jack was a little bit silly to change the cow for beans? Let's see. When Jack came home with the beans, his mother was so angry. She threw the beans out of the window and sent him to bed. The next morning, Jack looked out of the window. A giant beanstalk had grown in the garden. Wow. Jack decided to climb the beanstalk. It was so tall it went right up to the sky and through the clouds. When Jack finally reached the top, he saw an enormous castle sitting on a magic cloud. Because clouds are not thick, so things cannot usually stand on them. So this must have been a magic cloud. Jack decided to go inside. All the furniture was huge. That means big. Another word is enormous, gigantic. These are all words that mean big. So the furniture was huge. Suddenly, Jack heard a loud noise. He ran into a cupboard to hide. Well, he shouldn't have been in someone's house in the first place, should he? An enormous giant came into the room. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. He bellowed. That means he shouted. Did you see my voice was loud? The giant sat down at the table. On the table was a hen and a golden harp. Lay, said the giant. The hen laid an egg. It was made out of solid gold. That's better than money. Sing, said the giant. The harp sang. The giant fell asleep. Jack jumped out of the cupboard and took the hen and the harp. That's not good. As Jack ran, the harp cried, "Help, master, help!" The giant woke up and called, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman." He chased Jack to the top of the beanstalk. Jack climbed down the beanstalk and the giant followed him. As Jack got to the bottom of the beanstalk, he shouted, "Help!" Jack's mother came out with an axe. She used it to chop the bottom of the beanstalk. Well, that was good of her. The giant fell and crashed to the ground, and no one ever saw him again. With the golden eggs and the magic harp, Jack and his mother lived happily ever after. So they had the magic beans, but he did go into the giant's house, which wasn't good, and he took his belongings. But I do think the giant wasn't bad because he said he smelt the blood of an Englishman, which maybe meant that he ate people. Anyway, I hope you liked the story. Now, for me, I would really like if you could think about your favourite part in the story. Maybe it was Jack getting the magic beans, maybe it was the stork, maybe it was the castle, maybe you like the singing harp, and draw me a picture from this story. Can you do that for me? I bet you can, and send me a nice photo of all your work. Thank you.